Right, I am trying again. Ow. That wasn't a good idea. I'm going to pick up a bunch of chisels. Okay, somebody's back. Apologies if you were previously on and we lost it. I think I have issues with off again. I'm talking to myself. Yeah, it's a 0 here, James. Even better. Yeah, I think I've got multiple issues with tech. I'm using one of the kind of mains power connectors, network connectors, and I'm using an old PC. It has to be 8 years old. I could really do with putting an SSD and rebuilding it. SSD is not an option at the moment, in order to sort of speed it up. So sometimes I get connection issues, and it is the internet. Sometimes I get issues with the computer just lagging as well. Whether it's the camera, I mean, the camera seems to generally be okay. It's certainly okay in kind of the house when I've used it in there. So not 100% sure what the problem is with that. Unfortunately, I can't get Wi-Fi out here. Because if I could get Wi-Fi out here, that would make life a lot easier. Right, so now I've got to think about how I'm going to actually work on this. And also whether could almost work it upside down. Just got to remember what's where if I do it that way. Yeah, I suppose I could. Well, again, my phone will only work out here. I don't have a huge data plan, and my phone doesn't connect to the internet out here unless I use the computer as a hotspot. And I only bought the cheapest, BT, but I only bought the cheapest of those connectors. So it doesn't have Wi-Fi built into it. And it's only got a single Ethernet, so I can't even put a Wi-Fi hub onto it. So I've got a couple of thoughts. I think one of the things I'll need to do is essentially take the PC back out at some point and rebuild it. And I think if I rebuild it, that should give me some increase in speed and, more importantly, reliability. Yeah, I mean, just because the way things are, I have to do a lot of things on a budget. Yeah, it'd be nice to put a decent Wi-Fi repeater out at some part of the house. Our broadband comes in essentially level with where I'm at, but there's obviously multiple walls. The utilities there is lined with superfoil, so acts like a nice Faraday cage. So yeah, pretty much most of what I do in the Tinkerage relies on birthday money, and if I can kind of sell any of my spoons or things like that, which, to be fair, hasn't happened for a while, but then I haven't actually put anything out. Let's use square. But how are you, James? How did your NVQ meeting go? I'm hoping that went okay. And the trick, I taught GNVQ for a while, and yeah, the trick is just keep on top of the paperwork. And most NVQ materials I've ever looked at, there's always been very clear descriptors of what's required. So just treat that like a tick list, and yeah, generally that makes the NVQ part of it, the kind of the production of your assessed materials, easy. So then all you've got to worry about is the stuff you're producing. But it does require a certain level of organisation. But yeah, if you can master that, that makes kind of life, yeah, generally easier on that regard. Right, that's too wide. Right, let's start measuring that out. Right, I just need to think now as to whether, am I happy with this arrangement? I'm kind of happy with this corner here. But I've got to think about, so that would go to there, maximum depth from that one. Is 8 centimeters. What have I got? So what's the particular NVQ you've been working on? Is it for kind of a career change type NVQ, or is it something for your particular job anyway? Or are you doing it just as kind of out of an interest? Not sure if it's going to go somewhere. Move that into there. Ah, leadership stuff. I've done a lot of stuff about leading, and I spent most of my teaching career as a middle manager. But I was really interested in leadership and leading, kind of studying leadership as a kind of university and post-university. And I've taught a bit of stuff on it as well. I find it really, really interesting, kind of, you know, some great material out there. Trying to think of some of the names that kind of spring to mind. It's interesting how there's different kind of concepts about leadership, and there's a lot of, particularly in the education sector, there's a lot of kind of confusion between leadership and management, and that often leads to kind of sort of stress. And it's interesting how different people, some people consider themselves leaders, but they're managers, and other people consider themselves managers, but they're leaders. And there is a debate as to whether that's an important difference to have, to know about. I'm going to move that up to there, and we'll do pos drive, that one there, and bit driver down there. I'm just trying to kind of think about how I'm going to organise this. But yeah, level 3 qualifications. So yeah, they were worth having, and yeah, it's shift leader. I imagine you've probably got a variety of people that you have to lead. Yeah. I mean, it's always that kind of balance. And you say about kind of, people only come to you if there's an issue with anything. So, I mean, questions that kind of I would think about just kind of quickly off the top of my head is, are those people coming to you at an early stage in the problem, or only when things have gone completely wrong? Are they doing that because you've given them the latitude to solve problems on their own? Or do they trying to think of a good phrase. I mean, I always try to get people to solve problems themselves if they could. And kind of leadership, poor leadership, I think, is when perhaps people say, don't give people the latitude to do things. And so then you get people kind of going when there's every single possible problem, even though that that they could solve them without too much of a problem. Yeah, but level 3 is equivalent to A level. So it should be a reasonable quality. And yes, it is aimed at kind of the school leavers, but it's always difficult when you've got to produce evidence for promotion. But as an older person, hopefully you can kind of see places where it should be easier for you to generate evidence. You should be able to maybe give more examples of where things are, and have that experience. Of course, what's always difficult is if you are in the same class with the 16-year-olds and the school leavers, and they haven't got a clue because they just have never worked, so they don't know actually what it really means to have people come into them with issues and how to solve those issues, how to give people the skills to solve them things themselves. Cool. So they've got the latitude, they've got the kind of the ability to be able to start the problem solving process themselves. That's good. That's the way it should be. There used to be a fantastic program well before your time. I remember the name of the program. It followed a gentleman called John Harvey Jones, who used to be the chairman of ICI. This is back in the early 80s. It was on TV. And he would go into places that were failing, close to bankruptcy. And if he would go in and kind of essentially try and turn the company around. But what he wouldn't do is go straight in and start talking to the managers. He would go in and start talking to the personnel on the shop floor. And it's interesting how, he'd go up to somebody who'd been, working in the same position for 30 years and go, yeah, what can we do to make this place more efficient? And the guy would go, well, if we actually move that conveyor belt over here, then it would save 30 seconds per item, and we could do more items in the same day. And no one in the management of the company had kind of asked them, anyone on the shop floor, of how things could be improved. So that was a fine example of management rather than leadership. He would go in and show sort of great leadership by asking the person on the sort of shop floor who's doing the job, how things could be changed. Yeah, so I mean, organising coverage of people being sick, that's management. Giving people the freedom to sort out issues that are within their capability is leadership. Having people coming to you, having had solutions, and then looking for kind of where to take them next, which can turn into a coaching issue. If you are more experienced and know how to solve the problem and how to do the next stage, that becomes leadership and coaching opportunities, which is leadership, because leadership should be about developing the people that are working for you and with you, not just kind of saying, right, you do this, you do that. That's management. I've heard plenty of cases of where people kind of have, you get to certain positions. The place I worked in industry, I mean, it's gone now, so I can talk about it in the public forum. It was my last industry job. It was very poorly run on many aspects. Troubleshooter. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. People, I mean, my last industry job, it was so poorly run in so many aspects. Health and safety was a joke. One guy had his back broken. I mean, I ended up, my back is now an issue because of problems there. My hearing is an issue because of problems there. I almost got killed because the quality manager didn't turn off a magic eye sensor and asked me to shift a pallet off the line, and a hoist came down. I got out with an inch to spare, literally. And they wouldn't listen to people, myself and a few others in the quality team, people who are on the line who are doing things on a daily basis. They wouldn't listen to them. They wouldn't ask them for kind of, can we think about ways to do it? And so therefore those people didn't do their job to the best of their abilities either, and in some way would be disrespectful. It was the days when people smoked in factories, so they dropped the cigarette butts into the product essentially, and that's not good. Hi Jim. This is my second attempt. Had a first one, didn't go so well. Still working on the last bit of reorganization. I've worked out the size of drills I need for each of the screwdrivers that I'm going to put into here. I'm just starting to mark it out and get those drilled so that I can then get that back up on the wall. So that's my kind of, I don't know if I'll get my chisels done today, but I might do. I don't know. I probably won't film that, or I might do it in the morning. Go to see my sister tomorrow afternoon. So, and then make an international podcast on tomorrow night. I mean, one guy. I mean, it was a joke, really. One guy had his back broken. It was cement bonded particle board, so like chipboard, add cement and alum, so really heavy, really fireproof. So like MDF and chipboard, essentially you make it by taking your mix of fibers, laying it out on steel sheets. So they're probably vary in depth depending on how thick you want to make your final board. So they were 1 mil, 2 mil steel sheets, maybe 3 mil. No, I think it was 2 or 3 millimeter thick steel sheets. Laid on, they were stacked up, then put in giant presses, passed through an oven for about 20 hours, and then taken out, unclamped, and then they'd be at their finished thickness. So the plates would be taken off, and they should separate. The plate should come off on one hoist, and that'd be taken and put onto a conveyor, sent down to the other end of the line again, and then the board would be taken off vacuum hoists and placed on the other side and out to be stacked, or to be stacked onto pallets. Gone to a trim line, so the edges would be trimmed off, and then it would be stacked on pallets after that. And this particular occasion, the plate had come off, but the board hadn't cured properly, so part of it was stuck on the bottom of the plate. Now that can't go down the line, so the guy had scraped that off. So he had a scraper on thing, but he had to reach in, and he'd broken a magic I-beam again because he hadn't turned it off because it's quicker, and it's all about speed. So hoist came down. He was inside it, so that was not pleasant. So health and safety executive were all over it, and they put up cable, sort of you couldn't enter into the space without things being switched off, and all sorts of safety features. And then when the health and safety executive had kind of finished and gone on their way, a lot of the practices went back to normal. Things were disabled, and it was just it was shocking. And I mean, I was kind of early 20s, mid 20s, didn't really know any better. I just kind of, and it became mind numbing in a way. You just kind of ignored it. I mean, there were some crazy things, forklift trucks tipping over. I mean, I used to, just for speed, when I left, I think we were something like 6 weeks behind on testing. But my supervisor was telling the MD that we were in 3 weeks behind. And when you're doing that and the pressure you're putting on people, we were handling 8x4, 6x4 sheets on our own, anything up to 100 kilos on our own. And so that's heavy and it's awkward. And so that's why I left, because my back, I blew 2 discs in my back. That's why I've got problems now. So, it is shocking what people would do. And if you kind of read about kind of industry from that was the 90s, but, going back into the 80s, 70s, 60s, some of the practices that go on, and I suspect still do go on in some places, in the UK, never mind in sort of developing nations where health and safety executive and the like doesn't exist. We all know people who kind of put, the table saws. I was saying to Josh earlier, I can't remember now. I was using an 18-inch Wadkin table saw. We had a 14 or 12-inch as well. There was no riving knife. There was no guards. There were no there was an extract on the 18-inch, but it was a hood. It was kind of just a bit bigger than shoulder width, a bit deeper, and it was kind of about that far above the deck of the table saw. And you used to have to literally bow in and get in. And so it was you were stood in this gale with ear defenders didn't fit properly. You had to have a hard hat on because A, you were on the shop floor, and B, if you didn't, you were likely to bash your head into the board of making the frame, which happened a lot. I was climbing up. I was doing a lot of climbing, so if I was having to check pallet numbers and board numbers off pallets to find particular test samples, I would just climb up the side because it was quicker. But theoretically, I should have got a step ladder out To be honest, it was actually safer to do the climbing. But your health and safety executive wouldn't have thought so. But knowing the way that some of the forklift drivers went around, I was actually safer close to. Yeah, and again, there's a difference between leadership and management. The managing director was nasty. He was foul. Just never heard someone swear so much. And I've worked with kind of squaddy or ex-squaddies. I've worked with all sorts of people. I've never known anyone swear as much as he did. And it was not kind of just that I'm just going to use the F word as a generic term for anything type swearing. It was literally just at people, which is just, not pleasant at all, really. I need to get on with sort of marking this out. And so I do kind of feel quite strongly about the difference between kind of sort of leadership and management. There is, there's poor leadership exhibited kind of nationally. If we look at some of the people that are our kind of government, some of the leadership examples we see there is poor. All sorts. I can imagine. Anything to speed the process up. I was interested in listening to the I started listening to the latest Fitsall episode earlier, and they were talking about that clip that went around Facebook and the internet a few months ago, last year sometime, of steel processing plant in China, where they're dealing with kind of huge ingots that are being shifted by forklifts. The red hot, and they're talking about steel toe caps just aren't going to help. Yeah, exactly. You got 30,000 pounds of red hot steel land on your toe. It doesn't matter if you're wearing toe caps or not. You're probably not going to survive. So there is that kind of element of is it fit for purpose? People take shortcuts. That they're constantly worried about kind of how quickly something should happen. And it's all down to kind of to the buck. But as the kind of the troubleshooter, which Kelly identified, often you could make massive improvements just by talking to the people who are on the line and going, right, how can we make your life easier? How can we make your job quicker? How can we reduce wasted time? People are doing it on a day-to-day basis. But that requires leadership, and what a lot of people kind of see so many examples of this in different industries and in education, where people think that to be the leader means they need to know the most, and that's absolutely codswallop. A good leader doesn't. A lot of people get a leadership position or management position by being really good at their job, but it doesn't mean they're going to be a good manager. That's not to say that isn't a good process to do it, but sometimes I think as an individual we need to recognize whether actually, I know a few people who've gone into management positions, say in education, they've gone into management and then gone, no, I got here because I'm a good teacher, but actually this management business is causing me too much stress, so I'm going to go back to just teaching. It might mean I'm not earning quite so much money, but it's a better decision. But often we see sometimes people get promoted out of their position. And it comes up with legislated common sense. Yeah, there should be an element of that. Although the argument would be, I mean, the position that I found myself in my mid-20s with 2 discs gone. Further, I'd say it wasn't the only source of damage because I spent too much time with things that go bang. Damage to hearing because there was a company that didn't take responsibility, and I wasn't the sort of person that would go, no, I'm not doing that because you haven't given me steel toe cap boots because there's a huge risk of that being dropped. I'm not doing that because you haven't given me hearing protection that actually fits properly. Never mind is of a suitable decibel rating. I'm not doing that because it's too heavy. There was, the attitude was very negative to that. I look back, if I could advise myself, I'd have got out of that company within 2 months. That's what I should have done. But then, at the time I was grateful for a job. I know somebody who kind of has been working for quite a few years in a kitchen, and the nature of the environment, it's not actually good for that particular person. But the company keep promising, there's going to be this opportunity. Just say there'll be this opportunity where actually you could have gone and worked in a much better kitchen, learnt more about cooking, and actually be overall helpful. Knowing what you're good at and what you enjoy, it might be that actually in the future, James, you kind of go, do you know what? I actually quite like the idea of working at a desk. But if you're happy with what you're doing and it provides for you, your family, then I think there's a false push to encourage people to take promotion. There's this kind of idea that everyone has to be successful. You have to kind of rise up. But, if there's nothing wrong with having a job, but doesn't involve being kind of at a high level, if it provides for your family and for you, and you're happy in what you do, and you're staying healthy doing it, do it. If you can find something that you enjoy even more, that maybe gets you more money, or you decide, right, I'm going to stuff it. I don't want to work in the printing business anymore. I want to go and I'm going to be a professional woodworker. I'm going to go off, and I started watching, but I haven't finished it. Matt Eastley put a video up earlier with questions, and it showed kind of where he works 3 days a week at a training centre in Oxford, doing NVQ levels to level 3, I think, NVQs in woodwork, and it's fantastic. They've got all the big machines. It's lovely workshops. I mean, they're teaching workshops, so it's not kind of a standard workshop. And a bit of me was watching that, thinking, kind of, if I'd love to have had the opportunity to maybe go and do something like that, and do something with my hands. So taking opportunities. And it's the problem. People think, I get frustrated by the likes of Tim Ferriss. Hugely successful guy. He's written some hugely successful books, one of the biggest podcasts out there. The whole idea of 4-hour work week. And there's that kind of thing, well, if you can do this, you are successful. And fantastic. It's great that he can do that. But in some ways, I think it's just garbage, because it's saying, if you're not doing anything other than being able to kind of work a 4-hour week, which means you've systemized everything, which means that people are working for you, and that you're not successful, and it's just garbage. We can't all be Tim Ferriss, however much we put his principles into place. And there's that kind of attitude of, well, if you're not there, you're not successful. It's like, well, yeah, my family get food on the table. Yeah, my wife earns the money now. But my family get food on the table. You know, we don't go on fancy holidays. You know, I'm not sure where we'll go on holiday this year, but it's not going to be far. I really like the idea of maybe going out to the Maker Faire in Hanover, but our passports have lapsed, so it costs us £300 just to get new passports. And yeah, that would probably be over half of what we would spend on a week's holiday. So that's going to be out sort of this year. Yeah, but yeah, they're happy. They get to do stuff. They have activities. But something like Tim Ferriss might say, well, yeah, but you're not earning as much. You haven't got a brand new car. You're not flying off to the kind of islands of the Pacific for holiday to work off your MacBook Air in kind of things like that. I just think it's not far off what we're seeing with the generation of people who, kids nowadays. You ask them what, when we were kids, the majority of, let's say, boys, they wanted to be footballers or astronauts or maybe soldiers. If you ask about primary age children, you might get some say, I want to be a doctor, or it'd be quite kind of broad. There wouldn't be specifics. But nowadays, you ask a lot of children, the number of kids now who want to be, they're still the footballers, and that's probably not going to change for a long time. But there's now this thing of, I want to be famous. It's not a specific job. I don't want to be a singer, or some will say I want to be a singer or an actor, but I want to be famous. I want to be rich. But they're not necessarily prepared to work for it. And that's a bit of the issue. I can go a bit closer. With the likes of Tim Ferriss and what he wants, that's the thing, is being successful means. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that, James. Kind of, should success be based on happiness? It probably should. But again, some people, particularly young people, confuse happiness with kind of being rich? A lot of rich people aren't happy. You've only got to look at the kind of drug use amongst actors, or suicide rate amongst actors. Money doesn't bring us happiness. So if we're happy, isn't that a good measure of success? Doesn't mean we can't do different things and try different things. There's that kind of whole thing you could get into, discussing whether what moves us forward. Should we have other things that we consider and do? I'm holding myself up as much as anything, James. Don't worry about it. It's hot. Tinkeridge is an interesting sort of place. It's freezing most of the time. Early this morning, I had to have a kind of jacket on as well. Then it gets really cold, particularly in the mornings. And then after a few hours, particularly the sunshine's coming sort of through this way. PC's been going. The there's a certain amount of heat, and it gets quite stifling in here. I probably need to take a break soon. Actually, go and have a drink of water because I didn't bring some water out with me. And for a while, I went to be a doctor for a while. I was in primary school. My dad had MS, and I kind of wanted to cure him. And then I kind of wanted to be a physicist. I wanted to get into do physics. I really enjoyed physics. It was my favorite subject. I was one physics teacher. But what I gave up art in my options. After year 9, had to give up art, and I kind of wanted to do technology. But in the end, I ended up doing German because my physics teacher told me it'd be useful for my doing a physics degree, which it wasn't. I didn't do very well at it anyway. I kind of wish I'd done technology because I could have gone into engineering. For many years, I told people I was a closet engineer, and I think I maybe will do more. Yeah, I've still got a long time left, hopefully, and I'll do more and more engineering. I'd like to, if I can get this channel really going and get successful and maybe get some kind of sponsorship. I'd love to get hold of a little machine lathe, one of the kind of mini lathes, and do some things on that. That kind of really appeals, but I want to get a reasonable one, not just one of these sort of cheap Chinese with plastic gears ones. Yeah, bandsaw review. I might actually try and, what I'll probably do, I'm not going to get this finished. I'm certainly not going to get the chisels finished. I'll get this done today. I'll probably try and record a bandsaw review and get that edited today, because all the putting there, these are on sale again tomorrow. So I think I'm going to set myself a target of doing that today. It's not going to take long. Yeah, I'm only looking at kind of a 5 to 10 minutes. Right, I think I'm going to go. I need to go and get a drink. So I think I shall pull this to an end. Thank you for the chat. I think the sort of chat is quite nice, kind of these sort of maker chats. Jamie Page and I have just set up. I discovered Kelly, who commented earlier. He lives less than 10 miles from me. I only found that out yesterday. So we set up a Facebook group for Kent makers that we might kind of extend it to kind of just outside Kent, because I'm literally only, it's less than 20 miles to the Sussex border. So it's actually closer to the Sussex border for me than it is to Jamie, because Kent's quite kind of extended that way. So we're hoping to kind of maybe get some meetup of kind of local makers going. James, you were saying yesterday about Bristolians. Matt Eastley currently lives, he works in Oxford. I'm not sure where his own workshop is, but he's currently living in Bristol. So, maybe, if you want to develop the community there, reach out to him. It might be an interesting guy to get to know. Hi Gary. Oh, you've done a premiere. I shall check that out shortly. Just about to draw this to an end, I'm afraid. So just been chatting about all sorts of things like leadership, management, health and safety. I've been organising screwdrivers. So that's just my template, which I'm now, the fact that that's, oh yeah, back again. I am going to go and get that drink. See how dinner is progressing. And I shall probably vlog later, and just to kind of give other people a little short recap and get that bandsaw review done as well. And if you don't see that, you'll see me on Makers International Podcast tomorrow night, talking about education and engineering and making and stuff like that. So bye for now.